What's up guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to choose the right camera gear for surf photography. So super excited about this video. I've been doing surf photography for like 8 years now. It's been kind of crazy. Started off with a little GoPro. Now I got the Canon R5 which I'm filming on right now with the Aquatech water housing, and just super pumped about all that. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk about what I kind of went through when I was choosing gear and kind of that whole process, and then how I kind of ended up where I am now with the Canon R5, which is like definitely one of the best cameras I've ever used, and just super excited about that. So first off, the basics. So I guess the biggest thing is just starting out versus if you've been shooting for a while, because obviously if you're just starting out, I would definitely get like a beginner level camera, or even like a GoPro, which I know like most people already have. Which I would just use that because that's how I started out for like 2 years. I was just jumping around in the water with like a little handle and then a GoPro, just jumping in waves, filming surfers, kind of just hooking the GoPro up to like my surfboard, which is actually like how I lost my first GoPro, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, just doing stuff like that I feel like is super good, super helpful, just learning how to like frame stuff. Now like there's screens on them so you can see them and stuff like that, so those are super good, super like cheap compared to normal cameras if you're trying to get a water housing. So definitely start off with a GoPro if you haven't been doing it for a while. Second off, if you have been shooting for a while, definitely the biggest thing that I've found is like, first off, water housing. Like what camera can you get in a water housing for a good price? And then what lens can you use in that water housing, and like can you use different lenses? And then obviously shutter speed, because shutter speed's huge when you're in the water. Because sometimes I'll like take like 2,000 photos and only a couple photos will come out, and it's just like those tiny moments where you know that it's barreling and stuff, and you want to get as many shots as possible, and you're just holding down that shutter. Where I had the Canon 70D before this, and it took like, I think it was like 5 to 7 frames a second, and now I have this one which takes like up to 20. Huge difference. Like my photos have been so much better just because I can like kind of frame the shot, and then if something's happening I just hold down the shutter. And yeah, it's like made the biggest difference ever, and I'm sure like people who have like that high shutter count, they know that, and that like it does make a big difference. I think that's like one of the most important things that I would say that I would look in for a new camera. But yeah, I definitely think that it comes all down to like budget, because that's like super important. I wouldn't get like a Canon R5 or like even like R6 or something if you're just starting out. It just really doesn't make sense. And like to get like a big housing, like I have an Aquatech housing, and that's been amazing for me, but I've also been shooting for a long time, so it makes sense for me to have like a nice housing, and if I'm making money with it. But yeah, I know that there's some housings that are like kind of like plastic bags, which I'm not sure if I would use that, because that's like pretty sketchy. But I've heard people using them and it's been fine. So kind of whatever works for your budget and your skill level. But that's definitely what I would look into. And yeah, for the second thing, I would talk about the best lenses for surf photography. So if you're in the water, it's like so tough because I feel like you can use almost any lens. It just depends on your housing. Because I use the 50mm lens, because I have a 50mm port for my housing. So it's the only lens that fits in my housing right now. And I could get like an adapter for the lens port and then use my 24-70, which I'm filming on right now. And I also have a 1-400 lens, which I usually use on land if I'm doing surf photography. But just to get like one of those lens ports and then kind of the adapter kit and stuff, it would be like $500 to $1,000. So it's super tough. And that's for like each other lens that you're using with it. You have to get other like kits and stuff for it. So it's super tough, and you kind of have to figure out what fits your budget and all that, and what works for you. So I'm using the 50mm, that's like, and then with the Canon 70D before this, I used a 28mm, but that was a crop sensor. So it was almost like a 50mm. And that's the only one that I've ever used in the water, because I just don't have enough money to buy a bunch of different ports and experiment with that. But I do want to do that soon. And I've heard a lot of good things about using a 70-200 in the water and the 24-70, because obviously it can zoom in and out, which is huge, and can put you in a more safe position than if you have a fixed lens, because then you kind of have to be in the middle of it. So that's also something to think about as well. Another thing is that water housing. So like picking a water housing I feel like is so tough because there's a bunch of water housings. I chose Aquatech because I just looked it up. got the best reviews from that, watched a bunch of videos. And Aquatech, to be honest, just has some amazing water housings, amazing customer service. They're just super good with everything that I've dealt with them. I've even had some like mishaps and I've called them. They fix everything right away and just get everything dealt with. And they even have kind of an office like an hour away from me, which is super nice. So if I need to go in there and fix something, makes it super convenient for me as well. So Aquatech water housings, I feel like is super nice. I've heard of some other good ones, like Salty water housings. There used to be like a carbon fiber water housings. I'm not sure if they're still in business because I haven't heard about them for a while. But and then there's like the plastic bag ones. I wouldn't recommend, but they're also a lot cheaper, like maybe $100-200 instead of Aquatech, which is like $1,000. But I've had my Aquatech water housing, well, before this one, I had it for 6 years, and then I sold it after for $500. So that just shows you like how well these things stand up. And if you take good care of them, wash them off with salt, like the salt water off and all that, they will last for a crazy long time. So I would recommend Aquatech water housings. I'm not sponsored or anything. I wish I was. But yeah, definitely recommend them. Another thing is tip for composition and technique. So for framing, I think like it's super hard to frame in the water, which I think is why you just need to like shoot as much as possible. So I've had a bunch of people like, oh, your photos are so good. Is it because of your camera and stuff? And it's like, yeah, I have a good camera, but it still is like how you look at this and like how you frame everything and how your composition is in your photos and kind of just how you see everything. And for me, that's just come from shooting a ton. Like this year, I've probably shot the most like photos that I've ever shot, like out of any other year combined. And just seeing like how the compositions have changed and like how I've like seen photos and shots differently have been super cool. And I think that's just from shooting as much as possible and then editing and kind of like having that all come together has just been super cool. And I think that's such a big thing for making your photography better, is just shooting as much as possible, editing as much as possible, and just getting out there and like just doing it and just having fun with it and trying new things. Like I've had days where I'll like try to like do like videos and photos and stuff and it just doesn't work out with like certain new techniques and I'm like bummed. But at the same time, like if you're not trying that stuff out, then you're not going to learn and you're not going to get better, because maybe like you do try some new technique and it works out really good and you try some new settings and then like that's what you use from now on. So there's other stuff like that as well, that definitely try new stuff, and like even if it doesn't work out and you fail, it's like, hey, at least you learned, you tried it, and then if it does work out, then you'll be super pumped about it. So would definitely recommend that. And then also for timing of waves, if you're doing that, like sit at the easiest thing that I do. So I live at San Diego, and if you're like in beach breaks, it's definitely super tough to kind of find where to sit if it's kind of crashing all over you. So you kind of just have to find, like, if you're shooting a certain surfer, just talk to them, because that's the biggest thing that I've done. You literally just talk to that surfer, be like, hey, tell me where you want to go, and then tell me where you want me to be. And that's like worked out the best, especially if it's an experienced surfer, it works out very well. And then if you're at a point break and it's like a reef break, I usually just kind of like find a spot, like watch the waves for a little bit, get in the water, swim around, and then I'll find a spot where they kind of drop in and then they're doing like a big turn in front of me, and I'll kind of just sit at that one spot so I can get the drop in, and then I'll move to them doing the big turn right in front of me, and then I'll usually get another back turn or an air from the back if they're doing that. So that works out very well as well. So yeah, that's kind of all I have for the video, but hopefully this helped out. Just kind of some stuff that I've learned from doing surf photography for a while on gear and a little bit of techniques after. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Like the video, it really helps me out. Only takes like a second. Yeah, thanks for watching. See you next video.